TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D. Wood. And with me now is Brother Rachid, who's an even better apostate from Islam than the apostate I normally hang out with, because Brother Rachid is not a silly atheist. Yeah, sorry, we're a couple minutes late. That was I had to restart everything. Was getting a very having internet problems, so I reset everything, and hopefully it's working better now. If it's not, for some reason, we might have to cut off, because I am having internet problems today. But we are, Brother Rachid, you and I were talking recently, and we're talking, of course, about things that are going on in the world. You've got the war in Israel, and you've got the situation with Hamas. And you were saying some things that made me think that, like, I don't know, this isn't what you said, but it made me start thinking that, like, all this stuff is kind of a distraction for the one who's for the group that's really causing all these issues behind the scenes, and that's Iran.
Yes.
And so, and it's like, well, they're the ones who are like messing with the Houthis. I mean, they're the ones like kind of behind that trouble there. They're the ones who were in some sense behind Hamas. They're with Hezbollah. They're blasting away at Pakistan. It's like, and I'm thinking, like, why are they starting all of this like at the same moment? And sounded like you had some ideas about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interconnected, and so many things are one leads to another. For example, Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, all of them. If you go deep, you will find connections with Islam, of course, and with the groups of Islam, with the doctrines of Islam, and also it goes back to the start of Islam. So it's not really something recent. It has roots in the 7th century upwards, and you will not understand the conflict in the Middle East unless you understand what happened in the 7th century of Islam and afterwards. So in order to understand the conflict now, we have to dig deep and show why Israel matters, why Iran matters, why the Houthis, the involvement of Houthis and Hezbollah and the Shia of Iraq makes sense. So we're going to connect all the dots.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give people, but before, and you're going to break everything down for people, I want to give people kind of the big picture of what's going on, like in our time. So you had Islam spreading over a period of centuries, and it broke up into various groups early on, and continued breaking up into groups all along. So, in Shia Islam, it would be, we're following this Imam, and we're following this son of the Imam, and no, we're following this son of the Imam, and they split off into different branches and so on. So Islam is spreading for a long time and breaking up into different groups, and Islam always has, from the time of Muhammad down, always has some sort of empire that's growing, and different groups at different times are the most powerful group in the Islamic empires. And all of a sudden, in the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire just gets crushed; it gets defeated, and now we don't have the caliphate anymore. And there was a reaction to that collapse in both Sunni Islam and Shia Islam, and that was that they're all looking around, going, wait, how did all these other nations get so much more? How did everyone else in the world get so much more powerful than us? Because in the Islamic mindset, Islam's just supposed to keep growing and growing and growing and dominate the world and subjugate everyone else. And here, wait a minute, now things are looking really, really bad. Everyone else is more modern than we are. What are we going to do? And so the reaction of lots of Muslim countries and lots of Muslim leaders was, we need to modernize to start imitating these Western nations. And so if you look at, photographs from the 1950s and 1960s from Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iran, you'd think you were looking at, some place in New Jersey or something like that, because they all started dressing like Westerners, acting like Westerners. They're going to school, they're learning, they're going to school to learn computers and things like that. And so that the idea was to modernize, but then you had a backlash against that view, and you had the alternative theory, which was, well, maybe the reason everyone else is more powerful than us is because we haven't been devout enough in
That's true.
enforcing the rules of Allah and Muhammad. And so Allah's either punishing us or he's testing us, but this is all like a test or a punishment or something. And so what we really need to be doing is not modernizing and becoming more Western. We need to become more devout Islamically. And then in Sunni Islam, you get the Muslim Brotherhood and groups like that. And in Shia Islam, you get the Iranian Revolution. And so their solution to the problem was that we need to crack down. We need to crack down. You eventually get to groups like ISIS and so on, but we need to crack down. We need to crack down on everything. We need to make everyone. We need to eliminate hypocrisy and so on. And so you had, that's why lots of places in the Muslim world swung in that direction. But now even that is starting to break down. So in other words, these movements are failing. And they're kind of in a panic mode because, wait a minute, we thought if we just became more devout and so on, then we would, then that things would work out, and then we'd go back to conquering the world. And now that's not working out. You look at Iran. There have been, I'm sure you've seen some of the statistics, but one poll showed that only 40% of people in Iran still believe in Islam. Publicly, they have to pretend they believe in Islam. But there are, I mean, millions and millions of people in Muslim countries who just don't believe in Islam anymore. And Muslim leaders are looking at this going, wait a minute, if this trend continues, if the trajectory continues, then Islam's just going to collapse in a few decades. So everyone's in a panic mode and everyone needs to do something right now. And in the Sunni realm, it's, I don't know, they seem to be going really hard on dawah and cracking down. And you had ISIS. And then in the Shia realm, looks like you're getting whatever Iran is doing right now, but they're all trying to deal with this situation that's arriving. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all this stuff?
Well, before the Iranian Revolution, at least the Shiite, for most of the time, they were not involved in politics, and they were trying just to manage their group and just wait for this person, this savior called the Mahdi, to come and do nothing. Basically, it just wait for him until he comes and he's going to establish a caliphate of his own, a global Islamic state where justice will be restored, and they will dominate the whole world. So the Shiite were a little bit just managing their, let's say, religious stuff. Their leaders, their imams are just managing their religious matters, their religious fatwas, their whatever they need, and of course gathering a lot of money from their followers, but they are not involved in running the state when it comes to politics, when it comes to who is in power, who is not. They were not involved. They kind of running a parallel state within the state. And this happened since the beginning of Islam, since they lost the caliphate. At the beginning, when Muhammad died, there were two groups. For those who do not have a background, there were two groups: the family of Muhammad and his companions. So the family of Muhammad is his uncle, his son-in-law, which happens to be his cousin in the same time, and their group. So they were fighting over who's going to succeed. On the other side was Omar, Aisha, and Abu Bakr, and the rest of the companions. They were claiming they are worthy to run the show, the Islam, after the death of Muhammad. So this clash was the beginning of two, if you want to call them, two theories of who owns the right to run an Islamic state. So the Ali and his followers, they became so centered in Iraq and the surrounding area, and the companions of Muhammad, they started in Medina, but it's kind of, after the Umayyads took over, it became Syria, what we call today Syria, Damascus and their surrounding area. So these two groups, they started fighting. Imagine Iraq and Syria fighting over who's going to win. After Ali took over, he didn't last. His two sons also lost authority, Hassan and Hussein, and Hussein was killed. So when they lost authority to the main powerful family, which is the Umayyad in Damascus, they kind of started running another state, but it's hidden. It's within the state, but it's a hidden state. And they call themselves Shia. Shia means group. So the Shia of Ali, the group of Ali, the group of the family of Muhammad, they are running a state, but it's not seen. It's just within their followers, and they gather money, they give fatwas, they manage their matters, they hate the authority. They sometimes they make rebellions against it. Sometimes they try to see if they can get back the authority one more time. But most of the time they became pacifists. They said we just give up this thing and we will wait for the Mahdi to come and restore our right to authority. And they started kind of their own idea. So this was the state until the Iranian Revolution. When Khomeini came back from France and took over, he said, no, wait a minute. Why we are waiting for this pacifism, this Shia pacifism should change. We will start being aggressive. We will establish our own caliphate, our own way of running things in a very active way. So we will accelerate the appearance of the Mahdi. In order to do that, we have to get rid of evil. We had to get rid of injustice. We have to fight the enemies of Islam and make it as much as prepared ground for the coming of the Mahdi. So this is like kind of background, and this where Iran now is. So they are fighting Israel because Israel, of course, is the greatest. America is the greatest Satan, but Israel is the other Satan. So the two Satans, the two horns of Satan, are America and Israel. Let's crush them. Let's defeat them. Let's make them trouble, make them suffer. So when the Mahdi comes, he's just going to finish the job. He's just going to take it over from there and finish the job. So they are preparing the way for the Mahdi, and they have to do it from all the surrounding area. The Houthis in Yemen, they are Shiite. I'm going to explain they are another branch, but they are Shia. And the Shia in Iraq, their proxies in Iraq, they are also Shia, especially Al Sadr and his followers, and also Hezbollah. They are all also Shia. The only exception is Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni group, but it serves whoever serves their purpose. They help him so they can prepare the way for the Mahdi.
Yeah, I just wanted to draw attention to two things. So one, both groups. So you had the Sunni Shia split early on, based on Muhammad's family or the companions, and both of these groups had learned from Muhammad that violence is pretty much the solution to anything that could go wrong. So someone is leaving Islam. Well, what's the solution going to be? It's going to be violence. My wife's getting out of line. What's the solution? Well, violence, and so on. So they learned from Muhammad that when whatever happens, violence is the solution. And then you even had commands, of course, like Surah 973 in the Quran, to wage jihad not only against unbelievers, but also against hypocrites. And so it became very easy in the Muslim world to classify this group. Well, they're actually hypocrites or they're apostates and so on. So we can fight them. So this ended up escalating to violence very quickly. I mean, Aisha, who's called the mother of the faithful in Islam, she marched an army out against Ali, who's called the commander of the faithful. These are their titles according to Islam. So you have the mother of the faithful marching an army against the commander of the faithful, and thousands of Muslims die in bloody combat. And on both sides of the battle, you had Muslims who had fought alongside Muhammad at the Battle of Badr and Uhud and so on. And now they're killing each other because that's how they've been taught by their master to deal with any sort of disagreements and so on. So you end up with bloody clashes all along. And the most disturbing part for anyone who wants to get past that in the modern world is that Muhammad was asked, what's the best generation of Muslims? And he said the first generation of Muslims, his generation of Muslims were the best generation.
Yeah,
Those are the ones who started slaughtering each other left and right over their disagreements.
exactly.
So for a Muslim today to say, oh, we can get past all this violence, you'd be saying, well, we're better than the best generation. The best generation, they were stupid.
Hmm.
They didn't know anything. And so you've got that problem that they've got their pattern of conduct, Muhammad, who settled everything by violence. And then the Muslims that he put his stamp of authority on, you want to be like a good group of Muslims, be like these guys, and they're slaughtering each other left and right. So that's one problem as far as people who would like to see peace at some point. But also the other thing was that transition. You mentioned that for many centuries,
Mm.
Shias, Twelver Shias, thought it was fine. Hey, we're just going to take a back seat until the Mahdi arrives. Once he arrives, he's going to fix these things. But we're just, we're going to keep on and living our lives as Muslims and trying to do the right thing until he arrives, and he's going to fix all this mess.
Yeah.
And then you're saying that it's actually 20th century in Iran where they're like, sick of all this just sitting back waiting stuff. We need to be more active and take a more active role, and
Yeah.
somehow hasten or accelerate what's happening. And
Yeah.
it's weird because you could look at that in two different, as you were talking, I'm thinking of it in two different perspectives. Because on the one hand, it looks stupid. It looks stupid for a group, a nation like Iran to start
Mm.
fights with everyone, especially when everyone around, the United States can crush Iran. Israel can crush
Yeah.
Iran. There's all these groups that can crush Iran. And they're picking fights with Pakistan and Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Israel and the United States. And it's like, are you guys insane? So I'm thinking of this from two perspectives. One is if they actually think, no, we can win this. If we start fighting, then God can bless us and we can take all these guys on and ultimately
Yeah.
win. Or if it's just, of course, if we start fights with everyone, we're going to be crushed. But that's why the Mahdi is going to have to come in and rescue the Shias, because otherwise we're going to just get crushed and annihilated. And I can't figure out what in the world they're thinking with all this.
Well, there's no doubt that they are trying to play the doctrines in their favor, and they're convincing their base that the Mahdi is giving them power to do all this. I have read articles that Khamenei, people around him, especially high clerics, they are saying to their followers that Khamenei saw the Mahdi several times and talked to him in person, and he got orders, or at least advice from him, how to act and how to do stuff with the U.S. and Israel. So they believe whatever decision, even if they pick a fight and it was a wrong decision, they believe it's the right decision because it must be the supreme leader. He cannot be wrong because he meets with the Mahdi. He gets the best ideas from the Mahdi. The Mahdi is a divine person. He cannot err. He's not wrong in anything because he is like Muhammad. He doesn't make mistakes at all. So he is divine in a way. So he is giving these orders to Iran, and Iran is just making them, executing them on the ground.
All right, now I want to go back into history a little bit because this is new to lots of people, and I've been dealing with Islam for many years, but I tend to focus on the people who are coming at me most, and that's usually like Salafi types, are the ones
Yeah.
who come at you hardest and so on. And so, lots of people who deal with Islam, critics of Islam, end up dealing with that version of Islam, and so lots of people are pretty unfamiliar with Shia Islam in general, but especially with the ideas that are driving, someone like a group like the Iranian leaders. So we want to
Yeah.
go into the history so everyone understands it and see how it's all ties together. Do want to take a couple super chats real quick.
Mhm.
I'm warning you ahead of time, Brother Rachid. There are jokes that people use that, that lots of people aren't familiar with.
Okay.
It'll be something that became a joke in our group like 6 months ago, and we keep using
Okay. So
the jokes.
internal jokes.
Yeah. So here, let's see. Wow, AP makes you late even without being present. This miraculous power makes me think he might really be a prophet after all. Yes, AP infests everything
Peace
with.
be upon him.
Yeah. Farfor. Remember Farfor, the terror mouse. Cheese Dulillah, the Mahdi will come. Yeah, and we're proud of that. We have a theory that Ali Dawa actually did the voice of Farfor because they sound exactly like. Uthman's fake blood says hi. Have you said hi to Daniel? You know he's watching. They're talking about Daniel Hakikachu. He admitted that he watches our live streams and is always spying on us. So that's funny.
That's nice. Let's
Yeah.
greet him.
Hi, Daniel. This morning, I leather strapped, my bum cheek flapped, so I slapped and clapped. Then I crap. It's an ongoing joke here about Muhammad saying in Sunan Abu Dawud that the eyes the eyes are the leather strap of the anus. That's weird.
I heard you using it one time. It's embarrassing for him.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It actually came up in AP's debate with Daniel Hakikachu, and that's how Daniel started whining. Oh, and they make fun of our prophet for saying the eyes of the leather strap of the anus. Anyway, weird stuff.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But it's funny. You have to admit it's funny.
Oh, it's totally funny. Yeah, and that's you got Muslims. Admit it. Just admit it. That's funny. It's funny stuff. Your prophet said something that's funny. David, here's my mitzvah shekels. The Mossad is pleased with you and your agent AP. You are really opening leather straps, and it shows well. Yeah, we have Brother Rachid. Whenever we say anything critical of Hamas, we get accused of being paid by Mossad. So we just go with it.
I am accused of the same thing, but I didn't get my paycheck this month.
Yeah, so people use the super chat here to send us. We call them super shekels from Mossad and from the IDF. So we're good.
Nice.
Ice cream sword says this stream is an answer to prayer, as I only recently became aware of Islamic eschatology, and you guys spared me the horrors of having to read the Quran and Hadith. Yeah, so. Yeah, there's a lot to Islamic eschatology. We're going to be focusing a little bit on the Shia side. Now, quick question before I have a few more super chats I want to read real quick. But the Mahdi, it's very common for Muslims from both Sunni and Shia backgrounds to believe in the Mahdi, but Twelvers believe that they know who that is, right?
Yeah. I would give a little bit. I will compare between the Sunni and Shia in a quick manner to summarize it, and then we can move on.
Oh, cool. That's cool. So let's get through the rest of these real quick. Brother Rachid, are you Berber? My uncle is from Algeria, and he was surprised that Berbers were probably Christians till the century before Islam.
Yes, they were. I'm Berber. I didn't know that. I found out when I did my DNA test. I was told I was an Arab, but I found out I'm a Berber, and to 94%. So I'm proud that I'm Berber. St. Augustine was Berber.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Tertullian was Berber, and Christianity. We can do a whole episode about Christianity in North Africa before Islam and during the invasion of Islam.
Yeah, and then everyone converted to Islam because they saw it was so much better.
Yeah. You gave them flowers and chocolate.
Yeah, that's how it happened. That's what I keep hearing on the internet. Beatrice says, I'm here to send your daily payment from the Israeli government. Here are some shekels. Thank you to the Israeli government and Mossad and the IDF for sending us the super shekels. If Iran keeps misbehaving and supporting world terror, the West might bomb it forward into the Stone Age. Yeah, I can't imagine Iran picking a fight with Israel, with everyone around them and thinking that this is going to go well. First live stream, and I got to see Brother Rachid. Yes, that's true. Iran is what everyone accuses Israel of, the devil. Yes. Hi, David, Brother Rachid. Mahdi is an Aramaic word. Madhyana means a
Yeah.
person who leads to faith.
Yeah.
Many of the Shia beliefs are derived from Nestorianism. Yeah, when I've seen Mahdi, I've seen that it means rightly guided. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the name. There are theories about the name, and I'm sure it's not even a name. It's a title. So it's like Christ is like the Mahdi is the rightly guided who guides people in the same time. So he's rightly guided by God Himself, but he guides people. So the Hadi and the Mahdi, they have the same root, and I'm sure they have Aramaic, Syriac origins. I can say that.
Mm-hmm. Smoke Bomb here says, could you use the Quran to prove the Trinity? I wouldn't actually try to prove the Trinity from scriptures that I don't believe in. I think what you can do is show that the author of the Quran used some things and didn't realize that those things actually support the doctrine of the Trinity. In other words, like calling Jesus the word
The
of
word of
Allah, and then
God.
talking about
Yeah,
the spirit that Allah breathes out and so on. So it originates from within Allah. So it's not the same as when Allah speaks and something comes into existence. So
yeah,
it's like Islam is a bad copy and Muhammad didn't realize that what he was copying.
yeah.
Anyway, so yes, I wouldn't say, hey, this, the Quran proves the Trinity. I would say the Quran proves that whoever is composing the Quran didn't realize what he was stealing all the time.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts as far as Brother Rachid? Before we get back into the topic, what are your thoughts on as far as using the Quran
I agree
in?
with you. I do the same method. I think Muhammad or whoever wrote the Quran didn't understand exactly the mainstream Trinity of Christianity. So there is a confusion. Whoever wrote the Quran thought that Christians believe in a God who married Maryam and had a son, but in the same time he used some terminology that can be only understood in a Trinity context in the gospel, like the word of Allah. And to name Jesus only as the word of Allah is a problem in Islam, and they cannot defend it.
Mm-hmm. And it is a huge issue because you've got, I mean, even if you just take Muslim beliefs and you combine the Quran with the Hadith, you have some issues because you got the spirit of Allah actually can appear as a person, so he's a personal agent and he's the spirit that Allah breathes out. But then you've got the word of Allah, and that's Jesus. But you also have the word of Allah in the sense of the Quran. But then in the
Yeah,
Hadith, you have the Quran appears as a pale man and appears to people
yeah,
at the judgment and so on. So they're both personal. So you have persons. You have
and
Allah. You have Allah speaking out a person and Allah breathing out a person, and those are different persons. And Allah is a different person, and yet it's weird
you
stuff.
and there was a huge fight in Islamic history. Was the Quran created or eternal? And they kind of were divided upon it, and people got jailed and got beaten up for and persecuted for just saying that the Quran was eternal. But now every Muslim, when you talk to him or her, they will say that the Quran is eternal, or at least they will not say anything. But back in the days, they used to say that Islam is the Quran was created, is not
Hmm.
eternal, and it's a huge debate.
Yeah, and it is interesting that what Islam teaches can change radically just based on whoever's in charge and winning the
True.
battles at some point. Yeah. David, will it help them if Gazans learn some yoga? Yes, pretty much anything they learn would help them. This one's for you, Brother Rachid. Brother Rachid, is it true that there has been a huge rise of Christianity in Algeria during COVID? How true is this? So interesting.
Even before COVID, the huge rise. Now the authorities are persecuting Christians. They are especially Berbers. They convert to Christianity in masses because they found out their roots. They were Christian, and they found out how they converted, how their ancestors converted to Islam by the sword. So they started digging, and when they started learning their history, they started converting to Christianity.
Hmm. Nice, nice, nice. And a
Yeah.
couple more real quick. Weather lady said it will be sunny today, spelled Sunni. Weather lady said it will be sunny today, but she is often wrong. And when she is wrong, I get so Mahdi. Get it? She is wrong. I get so Mahdi.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Uh,
that's yeah.
how old will the Mahdi's wife be? Not sure, because Shias tend to not like Aisha very much, so they might not roll with that one.
He's not married, he's still single.
Poor guy, for all this time. We'll explain.
Yeah, 1155
It's a
years and he's still
long
single.
time. That's a long time. Uh, and two more real quick. I forgot for a moment that I need to bring you some shekels for the work. Yes, thank you. We accept all the shekels, all the super shekels. Do Shias generally believe that the Mahdi will conquer the Sunnis as well, or unite
Oh,
all Muslims? That's a good question.
yeah. We will see.
Okay, we're gonna check that out. And finally,
Yeah.
here, why are Muslims mooning when they pray bums up? Well, that's just it's pretty common to bow down in prayer. All right, brother Rachid. So
Yeah.
so we've got kind of an overview on sort of things that are going on and how this all ties into the big picture of Islam. But let's zero in on this Mahdi, this
Yes.
Mahdi stuff. What's going on here?
Well, let's start. So, as we said, there was a fight over who's going to take over after Muhammad. So the Shia are the followers of Ali. Ali is the cousin of Muhammad. So Ali, he had his son Al Hassan after him. So I'm just going to don't get confused with names. So it's easy. I'm just going to focus on three and then jump. Ali, two sons, Hassan, Hussein. Hussein died. Hassan gave up. And then after that, they had no chance whatsoever to take the caliphate back to the family of Muhammad. So they started believing there are imams. Imam is just another word for a caliph. Caliph is the Sunni side. Imam is the Shia side. So the just different terminology for the same position, let's say. It's authority. Who's going to take over? Who's going to lead? Who's going to play the role of almost Muhammad? He's just not a prophet, but as if he's representing Muhammad. So there are imams, we call them imams. The three first ones, Ali, Hassan, Hussein, then nine grandsons, let's say, just
Uh,
nine after them. So
one second.
it's 12.
Yeah, one second. I just wanted to pause because there are sometimes we have people who are coming in who are totally new and won't know what we're saying. So
Yeah,
you broke it down that there's a dispute in early Islam who is going to maintain the leadership
yeah,
role within Islam. Muhammad dies, he just gets sick and dies at one point, and then who's the next leader? And you're pointing out that the dispute was between Muhammad's family and the companions.
yeah.
So the Abu Bakr faction basically said, hey, his great companion, his best companions should be the leaders, and then other people saying no, it should be his family. And so when you're talking about
Yeah.
Ali and Ali's sons, Hassan and Hussein, these
Yeah.
are Muhammad's grandsons. So Ali
Yep.
marries Muhammad's daughter, and then they have Hassan and Hussein. So these are
Yes.
Muhammad's grandsons, and so part of the Muslim community is saying these guys Muhammad's family should be the
They
leaders.
are the true leaders. They
Yeah.
are the true imams.
Hmm.
They are the ones that are worthy of leading the Muslim ummah,
Uh-huh.
not the other ones. The other ones stole it. They are
Yeah.
thieves. They are cursed. Actually, they curse them. They hate them. They are the enemies of the family of Muhammad. They are the enemies of Ali. So there are two fighting groups over authority, and Sunnah means the way, Shia means the group. So the group of Ali, the way of the companions, are fighting each other over who's going to lead.
And the other clarification I wanted, because most people, when they hear imam, they're thinking like imam of a mosque, whereas
No.
in Shia Islam, they're talking about a when you hear Twelvers, Twelver Shias, they believe in these 12 imams, and
Yeah.
so basically early on in Islam,
Imam
yeah,
Imam
go
is
ahead.
an Arabic word. It means leader.
Mhm.
So we use it religiously for different stuff. One of them, Imam in the prayer, the one who leads prayer. Imam in a mosque is the one who leads the mosque. Imam in general sense, let's say, leading the Muslim community, he can be one of the 12 Imams for the Shia Twelvers, because there are many other Shias. But the Shia Twelvers are the majority Shia in the world. We know that Muslims are 90% Sunni, 10% Shia. The majority are Twelvers. We call them the Imamis or the Twelvers. The Twelvers because they believe in 12 Imams. The Imamis because they believe in the Imama. Imama is the leadership. They don't use the caliph or caliphate because that's a Sunni way of saying things. We have our own way we say things, is the Imam. We believe in 12 of them. They are all from the family of Muhammad. They are all descending from his family. They are the ones who should lead the Ummah. And they believe also there should be no time in history when we will not have an Imam. There will be always somebody from the lineage of Muhammad, one of his descendants. So that's why these ideas will help us understand why they believe in Mahdi, because they believe it can't, the imama cannot stop. It started with Muhammad and it continues until the last day. It cannot stop at any moment in history.
And so, again, something you pointed out a few minutes ago, that at first they're actually battling for political control, the two sides. Yeah. So the party of Ali, and then the versus the the Abu Bakr side. They're fighting for political control. But then after,
they call them the Bakris sometimes. They call them the Bakris.
Yeah. And so they eventually, Ali and Hassan and Hussein, they all die. And you're saying that after that, it's okay. We're not going to have political control. So we're kind of a different thing. We're guiding in a different way, other than maintaining this sort of political control over the Ummah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why. So when we say the Imams, they are 12. It starts with Ali, then his two sons, then 9 grandchildren. Notice that from Ali, it went from one brother to another, from Hassan to Hussein. Hassan was just like, I will not. He made a deal, and also Shia believe he was killed. He was poisoned. They believe he was poisoned by Muawiyah, the caliph. Hussein got killed actually by Zayd, so he was really killed brutally, and with many of his family, and that's why the Shia until today they still celebrate his death, and they believe he was killed wrongly, and with the other side, with the side of the companions, and that's why they believe he should have been the imam. He should have been the right one to lead, but otherwise, the other guys, they were just evil. So after that, it's just from one to his son. It doesn't go to brothers. So
but that did become an issue, because since there was that possible pattern of the imamate not going just from father to son, but also could in theory be passed on to a brother. You did over time eventually have some brothers along the way going, he died. Well, that should go to me then, not to his son. And so you ended up with some of these offshoots.
Yeah, we had few cases in history. It's like with the 11th Imam, his brother claimed it. In other places, also during the Hassan and Hussein, some people followed Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, a third brother of them from another mother, and they followed him and they believed he is the Mahdi. So it's loose. It can go either way. But the 12ers, because the majority, so now the main Imam idea or the Imama idea is focused on what the Twelvers believe. But of course, if the other groups stayed and had the majority, we could have been now studying them instead of the Twelvers. Well, for example, in Oman, in Sultanate Oman is the Ibadis, they don't believe in a Mahdi at all. The Zaydis in Yemen, they believe in, they just follow the 4 Imams and then a fifth one who is not listed with the Twelvers, and that's it. They believe that they don't follow the Twelvers in their path of who is Imam. But again, let's go back to the Twelvers. Let's focus on the Twelvers, because if we go to the offshoots, it's never going to end. Always there was somebody somewhere who claimed he's a Mahdi. And actually, in history, many people claim to be a Mahdi. We had in Morocco somebody whose name is Mahdi, and he started a whole state called the Muwahhads, the Muwahhideen, we call them, the Muwahhads. Almohads. So they started and they took over Morocco, and it became a whole state. In Sudan in the 19th century, somebody claimed to be Mahdi. Many times through history, people claimed they are the Mahdi. And here's the deal. When we talked about the Sunni versus Shia, let me just explain it. Both of Sunnis and Shia believe in a Mahdi. The only difference, the Twelvers believe he was a person in history, and now he's hidden, he disappeared, and he will come back and he will reappear one day at the end times. The Sunnah, they say he will come. He will be called the Mahdi. His name will be Muhammad. His dad will be Abdullah, like the Prophet, and he's going to lead Muslims. But he's not born yet. He's going to be born at the end times. Shia Twelvers, they believe his dad was Hassan, not Muhammad. And he was in the 9th century. He was born in the 9th century, and he was a child when he took over after the death of his dad. His dad died, and then he was 5 years old, and he took over. He was hiding because the caliph, the Abbasid caliph, wanted to kill him, so he had to be hidden. And nobody knew of his birth except the aunt of his dad, and she covered up for him, and she is the only witness actually of this birth. Many people say there was no kid, there was no Mahdi, it was just an invention, because we have no historical evidence that this guy even existed. They just believe that there was a son, and he was 5 years old when he took over, and he was hiding since then until today. And one day he's going to appear and he's going to save the Muslim world. According to the Shia, he's going to bring justice. I just tweeted a few days ago and I said, so the Mahdi, I'm trying to understand it. The Mahdi was hiding from the swords of the Abbasids, but he is going to be able to face America and their drones and their Apaches, their F-16, their nuclear bombs. I mean, it would not make sense. If you are hiding and you are afraid to be killed from a sword and a horse, are you going to convince me that you're going to face Israel and America? I can't believe that. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, I just want to point that's something that I found confusing. So just to recap, for anyone who's tuning in late, you have among Shias, you have this succession of imams, not imams like leader in your mosque, like leaders of Islam, basically. And so you have Muhammad, and then Ali and Hassan and Hussein. Those are Muhammad's grandsons. Yeah. And you have 11 of the imams. So you get to the 11th imam, Hassan, who is he's the Shia leader during the time of the Abbasids. So he's under their control. There's a theory that they poisoned him because they wanted to get rid of him. And so this guy.
Well, let me just tell you one thing: the Twelvers believe each imam of them will be killed or poisoned.
Wonder where they got that idea. Maybe because it kept happening. But so the 11th imam, he dies, and this would obviously be a kind of panic because he doesn't have a son. according to what
Hmm.
most people think. He doesn't have a son. And so he gets poisoned. And so, wait a minute, there's supposed to be this never ending succession of
Imams.
imams from the line of Muhammad. And
Yeah.
then the 11th imam dies. He doesn't have a son. Oh no, what are we going to do? And then all of a sudden, someone comes out. Actually, he had a son, but we've been hiding the son from the Abbasids because we didn't want the Abbasids
To kill him.
after the son. So there's that. And then if you look at the claims about why he's kept hidden and when he's going to return, the claim was that he's going to be hidden until it's safe. But then
Yeah.
even later rulers in the Muslim community, you had rulers that were more friendly towards the Shias. And so the question was, why didn't he come back now? Because you have rulers that are okay, a little more okay with the Shias, so he's not going to be in danger. And then it was, but he doesn't want to align with the corrupt leaders and so on. But it became this theme that he's going to return when it's safe for him to return and he's not going to be in any danger. But then, as you pointed out, how do they simultaneously view him as the Mahdi who's going to come out and just crush all these
The
people
savior.
when he's only returning when he's completely safe and no one can hurt him anymore?
It's very confusing. When I was reading about him, many times I had so many questions. First of all, why he's hiding all this time, and second, why he can't just appear in places where it's safe for him. For example, in Iran, they will protect him. I mean, why he can't be there and use her and help them get the nukes as soon as possible, so they can. I mean, he will be able to defend himself. But anyway, so he was born in 869 according to the Shia Twelvers, and when his dad died 974, he took over. And they believe that to be an imam there is no age limit. It's it's like marrying a child in Islam. There is no minimum age. It's the same thing. So he can be an imam even at 1 year old, like few months even. So he was an imam at 5 year age, and then
Hang on, I'm sorry. I just thought of a line when you said that, when you compared it to no age limit. There's for all the Muslims who say, like, you're familiar with this. There's not even a requirement to reach puberty, but you
yeah,
do have Muslims who think that's a requirement. And so when I describe them and they say, oh, as long as a girl gets her first period, then she's ready for
yeah,
marriage and so on, which is not, that's, I mean, getting your first period is part of the process of puberty, which actually takes a few years. So it doesn't mean you're ready. But in order to, there's a saying to make fun of that position, and it's old enough to bleed, old enough to breed, right? And
yeah.
so right when you compared it to the concept of an imam, I thought, well, what would be the parallel there? So the rules are for girls, old enough to bleed, old enough to breed, and for imams, it's old enough to drool, old enough to rule. And that's going to be the new rule. All right, but go ahead.
I like that. But anyway, anyway, so he was born in Samarra in Iraq, and imagine this: in 874, nobody saw him, so he had deputies, four of them, and they were the ones who communicate whatever the imam want to say to his group. So they are the mediators between him and the Shia, and it continued like that, one after the other, with the first deputy, and the second, when he dies, there is another one after him, and there is a third one, and then there is a fourth one. So during this time, people are given 20%. You have to know that in a Shia belief, people are given 20%, not to the state, not to the Abbasid. They give it to their imam. 20%. Like Muhammad, he gets the fifth when he raids a tribe. He gets the fifth. War booties, and the imam gets 20%. So they were gathering, those deputies. They were gathering tons of money, gold, silver, whatever, you name it, and they are representing the imam. That's why when there is a reason to believe he never existed, we have a reason why to believe that, because these people are gathering wealth on behalf of a person. Nobody saw him, nobody talked to him, nobody had anything to do with him except those who are mediators. One person tells the others, I saw him, he wrote this letter, see, this is his signature, but nobody saw his original signature. See, he said this, he appointed me. See, he said this, you have to do this, you have to do follow these rules. So they are the ones who represent the Mahdi. And this kept going for a while until no more deputies. And then they said he disappeared once for all now. We have no mediators with him, and he's still around here on earth until today. Nobody knows where he is. There are speculations. Some Shiites believe he is always in Saudi Arabia and Medina, where the grave of his grandfather is, and he does pilgrimage every year, once a year, and he meets some people occasionally. He appears to them and he talks to them like the leader of Iran, but besides that, nobody knows where he lives. What does he do with his spare time? Where does he spend all this time? What is he doing? Nobody knows.
And this tying all of that together, you got the 11th Imam, Hassan. So you got the 11th Imam.
Yes.
He dies. Shias are in a panic. What do we do? Supposed to go from father to son. This guy doesn't have a son. And then someone steps up and says, actually, he did have a son. It's been a big secret, but he's got a 5-year-old son who's hidden. But
Yeah.
I'm his deputy. So
Yeah.
just give the money to me.
Yep.
Just give the money to me. The money that you would give to the imam. So give 20%. Give that to me. I'll make sure that whatever he wants done with that money, that's what gets done. So at this period, it's just he's supposedly being hidden somehow. And there's his official deputy, this mediator that you go to, and this mediator's collecting the money. And then this mediator passes on his mediator role to another guy, then to another guy, then to the fourth guy. But the fourth guy, before he dies, and these guys are getting letters. These guys are coming out with letters from the 12th Imam, Imam. And so they're coming out and saying, hey, you guys, so if you had a question for the 12th Imam that you've never seen before, you go to his deputy and say, hey, I got this issue. What are we going to do about this? And then this guy would disappear. This deputy would disappear for a little while. Then he comes back and he says, hey, I got the letter right now. I got the letter from him. And here's his response. And they would read these letters. And then the fourth of these deputies, he finds out, he gets a letter saying that after his death, then there are no more deputies. He doesn't have an official representative. He's not going to have an official representative anymore. And they call that first period with the deputies, with the 4 deputies, they call that the
minor
period of
occultation.
The minor occultation, and then the after that, where he's hidden even more. So now you're not even getting letters from him, but he can appear, I guess, in visions or things like that to people, and occasionally do things like that. This is the period of major occultation. And so they're still in that period, but the idea is there is still an imam out there for he's been there for over 1,000 years, and there's this imam, and he's behind the scenes somewhere.
So the first period where we had those 4 representatives, one after the other, was almost 67 years, and the majority of time we had no one to tell us, even like to communicate with him. So we just believe, the Twelvers believe he is there, but we don't know how to get in touch with him or to communicate with him or know exactly what he wants us to do. It just we believe he's around, and the why they have this belief, because they cannot think of a time where we don't have an imam. Especially as you mentioned that Al-Hasan al-Askari, his dad, he died without having a son. So if the Twelvers say that he died without a son, then who is the Imam then? Then the whole idea will collapse. Actually, his brother claimed, when Hassan al-Askari claimed that he is the Imam, his brother, when he died, his brother claimed he's the Imam, and we had the Ja'faris, but the Ja'faris, they stopped to exist, and that's why we still have the Twelvers. Otherwise, it could have been another story. So anyway, now we have the Twelvers. They believe the Mahdi exists. They believe he had minor occultation. And then after that, the major occultation. We still live in the major occultation. We don't know when it's going to end. We just know that we are preparing the way, or Iran actually, where the majority of the Twelvers exist, they are preparing the way of his reappearance, where he's going to appear to people and he's going to say, I am the Mahdi. Nobody saw his picture, actually. Nobody knows how he looks like.
Yeah.
Anybody can claim he's the Mahdi. And that's
Yeah,
why
that's a problem.
we had many Mahdis through history who would claim they are the Mahdi. And how
Mhm.
are you going to tell? How are you
Mhm.
going to differentiate? We'll be like, oh, yeah, I have seen your picture. You are the Mahdi.
Yeah, so we will probably. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not even going to say probably. We will be seeing more Mahdis and people coming up and saying, "Hey, that's me. I've been hiding all this time,"
Yeah,
and something like that. So you pointed out that he's born in Samarra, Iraq, where
yeah,
they have their Shia Islamic holy site. So I think the 10th and 11th Imams are
yeah,
buried there, and
yeah,
in I think it was the 11th Imam's house in the basement. There's a well, and supposedly that was the last place the little 12th Imam was seen. And
yeah.
so, do they have any ideas on where is he? They believe he's actually like just hiding somewhere, or
Nobody knows, and when you try to debate any Shia Muslim, you say, where does he live? They will be comparing him to Al Khadr in Islam, because in Islam people believe Al Khadr, this guy with Moses, and he's around, he's just going around. So they will say the same thing.
Mhm,
He's just around like Al Khadr.
mhm,
So if you are a Sunni and you object, you say, where is he? We don't see him. He will be like, well, then where is Al Khadr?
mhm.
So if you can answer that, then you can answer, where is the Mahdi? But
And
they
they
believe the
actually and
Mahdi.
oh, I just want to point,
Yeah,
and they actually the Twelver Shias actually um, use that comparison um, between Moses and Khadr, in that
yeah,
one is like known, he's like a known visible prophet, and the other guy's this mysterious figure who's behind the scenes.
yeah,
And Moses doesn't even know what this dude is doing, and
yeah,
doesn't even understand this guy's knowledge and so on. But this guy's
yeah,
behind the scenes, and he's like secret. So they make that comparison. Like, yes, you had the known visible guys, and then you've got these other class of guys, and they're like behind the scenes.
yeah. So it's the same thing. They believe he's around. He's just going around from one place to another. He doesn't need visas or passports, so he's kind of, it's like kind of invisible in the same time, because you can see him, you can talk to him. Like Khamenei, for example, he met him, they believe, and he talked to him and he got advice from him. But at the same time, not
I
everybody
did
will
too.
recognize him.
I did too. Yeah, he came to me the other day and he said, "Man, I'm really disappointed in the way things are going in Islam. So David, could you talk to Brother Rachid and Apostate Prophet and all these guys and just destroy this religion?"
I'm tired of this. I just want to have a peaceful time. Probably he'd
Mhm,
say that I'm tired. I don't want to wait all this time. So anyway, it's not like Jesus, where Jesus, Christians, as Christians, will believe he he ascended to heaven. He went. He's in another dimension, sort of. They believe, no, the Mahdi is on earth. He lives among us. He's actually, he goes to Mecca, he goes to Medina, and he meets people, and he has a place, but you cannot see him.
Powerful stuff. All right, so how does all of this connect to what's going on in Iran now?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the Mahdi. He is coming back. He is a Shia, and he is the leader of the true believers. He is the true Imam, not all these presidents, not all these kings. They are just taking. And by the way, I have to say this before I make the connection. The Shia Twelvers, they believe that the whole earth belongs to the Imam, to the Mahdi. He gives whatever he wants to whomever he wants. It belongs to him. All the money that exists, all the wealth that exists, everything on earth belongs to him. So these nations are just taking something that doesn't belong to them, and they are just ruling, and the rule, actually authority, belongs to him. Everything belongs to him. So they're just abusers, and they are temporary there. When he comes, he's going to just crush all of them, take the ones that resist his rule, he will slaughter them, and he will be the only, let's say, king, the only imam who is there. So Iran believes this. You have Israel as a powerful nation in the Middle East. You have the United States is the most powerful army on earth right now, the most powerful country on earth. And imagine you are a Muslim, you believe the Mahdi is the most powerful person, and you are the group that should rule, and you are the group that, um, I mean, worthy of leading the nation, but in the same time, reality contradicts your beliefs. What are you going to do? This cognitive dissonance, it makes you come up with a solution. The solution is it's going to happen soon. We are going to crush America. We are going to crush Israel. We are going to crush all these nations. And the Mahdi is going to come. He's going to rule, and we are going to take revenge even from the ones that did hurt us through history. Even the Sunnis. We had one of the questions I think you mentioned, and the Sunnis, we will crush them because they are the descendants of Abu Bakr. They are the descendants of Ali. They are the descendants of Muawiyah, the guys who were resisting or persecuting and killing the family of Muhammad. We are going to take revenge. We are going to do to them a lot of harm that they did to our ancestors. So this is like a summary of how the Twelvers look at things. So when you see, for example, Israel is in an Islamic land, they believe that Israel is taking over an Islamic land. The holy sites are there. And Saudi Arabia, a Sunni state, taking over the shrine, the most holy shrine in the Muslim world, Mecca, and they have the grave of the grandfather of the Mahdi. He is there. So they have this idea that one day they will crush even Saudi Arabia. They will take over those holy sites. Let me point out one funny, probably detail. Who is the mom of the Mahdi? Who is his mom? His mom is a Christian slave. Some say Sosan, some say Nergis. Most of the sources they say Nergis. She was bought, they believe, she was bought by Al Hassan al Askari, the 11th Imam, and that's the mom of the Mahdi. I just make a joke that um, the mom of the Mahdi is a Christian one. The Mahdi probably will be an apostate.
Hey,
So
hey, we should do a skit one day where the 12th Imam converts to Christianity. He's like, you know what, Mom was right.
yes.
My mom
So
was right.
some sources they say that she converted to Islam. Some sources don't. So we don't know. And of course, we don't believe he ever existed. We just, if we follow the Shia sources, even with what they are saying, we still have questions. Why the mom of the Mahdi is a Christian slave? And why she is from another, she's not Arab, she's Greek, they believe. She was taken, and the irony, you believe she was taken by Muslims. She was taken as a slave girl. She was sold in a market. The 11th Imam bought her, and then he had sex with her, and then from that relationship they had the Mahdi. What an irony is that? And this guy is the savior of the world, and he's going to rule with the same Sharia that enslaved this girl and that brought a girl from another nation to his dad to use her as a sex slave. Well, I mean, the whole thing just contradicts each other.
Yeah, and you actually you're of course questioning whether this guy ever existed at all. So you have multiple beliefs. One, you had that he's a person and that he's still alive somewhere and that he's going to come back as the Mahdi. So again, tying together things we've been saying, it's very common among Muslims to believe in the Mahdi, this guy who's going to come and set things right. And lots of Muslims believe, this is when Jesus is going to appear and he's going to help the Mahdi, and they're going to tag team, um, conquering the world and so on.
Yeah,
So very common among Muslims to believe in the Mahdi. Twelver Shias believe they know who he is, and it's based on the idea that the 11th Imam dies, and then someone comes up and says, "Oh, you guys are all panicking because you think he didn't have a son. Actually, he does have a son. He's hiding. We've got him hidden.
yeah,
We've got this guy hidden." And they draw all these comparisons. So during his early life, when he's in danger, they compare him to Moses. Like Moses was, the Egyptians wanted to kill Moses and so on. So they compare him to that. With him talking, even when he's little tiny guy, they compare him to Jesus in the Quran. So they draw all these comparisons. And you're pointing out, apart from someone coming out and saying, yeah, he did have a son, we have no reason to think this guy even existed at all, period.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, look at, with all the evidence we have for Jesus, still people think he's not a historical figure. Still people are doubting that. So
Mhm.
imagine with this guy, you have no historical source apart from the Shia Imams who are just basing it on faith, uh, to tell you there was a guy whose name was Muhammad, and his dad was Al Hassan, and his mom was Narjis, and he existed. He was in this city, and he did so and so. Yeah. Imagine you are talking about a 5-year-old baby, and like you have nobody except those deputies who are saying we see him, or one after the other, not all of them at the same time. So you have only one person actually at a time saying, I see him, I talk to him, and you have to trust me. So the whole thing collapses when you know that this mediator is benefiting from that idea. Actually, is not just there is a reasonable doubt that these guys benefited financially. They benefited from all, like, also authority. Whatever they say to the Shia, they do it because it's coming from the Mahdi. So they have authority, they have money, they have wealth, they have everything through inventing an idea that a Mahdi exists and he's hiding somewhere. Until today, the Shia Imams, the guys with their turbans around them, there are different colors for each one of them. The ones who are descendants from the family of Muhammad, they get 20% until today. 20% from the income of people, ordinary people who follow them. And I had a chance to meet with some of them. Some of them actually live in the US and in the West. They are very wealthy. And when I ask, they don't work anything. They don't have any job. and they are very wealthy. When I say very wealthy, they have houses that are worth millions of dollars. Where their money comes from is from 20% of income coming from Shia Twelvers who believe that the family of Muhammad is worthy of paying them, giving them money just because they are descendants of the Prophet.
Wow, that's a good deal. So so you pointed out
You,
that there are
you
people.
probably should claim you are a descendant of Muhammad.
No, I'm just gonna. He lives with me. He's been in hiding. He lives with me. Hang on, one second. What's that? What's that? Okay, I just talked to him. You Twelver Shias out there, he wants you to send your money to me. He says you could send it in the form of super chats, and
Yeah.
that's what he wants you to do. And he says, oh, by the way, all you Twelver Shias who are watching, he says if you don't send me all your money, 20% to be clear, we're not greedy, that you're all going to hell. So you definitely want to get that covered. But you you pointed out that in spite of Jesus being a public figure and being publicly executed, and the fact that we have that he started an entire community of followers who went to their deaths proclaiming his death and resurrection, and in spite of the fact that we have not only sources from the Bible, but you have Christian sources outside the Bible. You have the second generation, so you have people who knew the apostles and were their followers. So they talked to the people who knew him. And in spite of Jesus having family members and so on, in spite of us having Christian sources, Jewish sources, and Roman sources talking about him, you'll still have people who are skeptical enough to say, actually, I think all that stuff is just made up and everyone got it wrong. He's just a made up figure. Whereas when we're talking about the 12th Imam, it's just, oh, everyone's in a state of panic because they don't know what to do because the last Imam died. Guess what, guys? We know where he is.
Surprise.
We've got him hidden. Just give us the money that you were given to the 11th Imam. And Shias are supposed to not be skeptical of this at all. This would be like a king, and like the kingdom is supposed to pass from one king to his son and so on. And just imagine there's a new king, he dies, he has no descendants. Everyone's, oh no, who's going to be the next leader? And then some advisor comes up and says, actually, he did have a son. It's been a big secret. Hush, hush. We're not going to show him to anyone. He's hiding, and he's going to stay hidden. But make sure you give us all the money, and we'll rule for him in his place. And then it's actually interesting that you have the four guys who are receiving letters from him, you can ask them questions, and then they'll come back with the letter from him. So they're receiving these letters from the 12th Imam who's hiding, and then all of a sudden, when the fourth one is dying, there's no one there's not going to be a successor after him who's receiving these letters and communicating directly with him. But I mean, notice how suspicious that looks. Like it was a collaboration among guys, and hey guys, this is how we do it. We write these fake letters and so on. Then we bring them out. We say, hey, look, we got a letter. But after they choose not to continue the conspiracy, because you do have to get the next. If you wanted a fifth deputy, you would have to get someone and say, hey, look, here's how it works. We collect the money, and we just every once in a while we come out with a letter, and here's how we do the letter and stuff like that. But you'd have to let someone in on this, the fact that it's a big scam. And so it looks like they just want to, okay, guys, there's no more people involved in the scam, and so we just have to receive the last letter and say this, it's been cut off right now. But you're right, this looks extremely, extremely fake. And how does anyone take this seriously?
Yeah, and now the leaders in Iran and Iraq and all these guys, they are kind of playing the same role of deputies of the Mahdi, because they believe when you hear Ayatollah so and so and Ayatollah Khomeini or Ayatollah Khamenei or all these guys, you just like talk about them. They are actually playing the same role of deputies, and actually they are not just that. They are somehow claiming even something superior than that, because they claim they are descendants of the Prophet himself. So they are from the family, the same family like the Mahdi. We are not just, because the first deputies, the first four deputies, they were not really from descendants of the family, or at least they didn't claim that. They are not descendants of the family of the Prophet. They were just representing the Mahdi. These guys, if you talk to the leader of Iran today, the supreme leader, he believes, he claims that he is straight from Muhammad through the Ali and Fatima and going down. So they are somehow, they are relatives of the Mahdi. They are connected to the Mahdi by blood as well. They are not just religious leaders who represent him. They are from his family. So that's why they are able to claim all this wealth, all this authority. Nobody questions them. Nobody asks them question. And they have this divine thing. Whatever we say goes. They rule the country. They execute whoever objects. And they, even demonstrations, they crush them. Because who are you to say no to the holy family of the Prophet?
And so the result is that after centuries of believing that there's this hidden Imam, based on a guy coming out and saying exactly what he would say if he's a scam artist. In other words, someone dies, last Imam dies. You know, there's an entire community out there wondering what they're going to believe. That is the perfect ultimate opportunity for a scam artist to say, oh yeah, give me the money. We've got the guy. We've got your guy. You're all safe. You're all good. You're all good. And he's going to fix things. He's going to fix things one day. Just make sure you give me the money. And based on that guy's testimony and him receiving these letters, you've got Iran to this day trying to start a fight with the entire world so that this guy comes back.
So the Imam, the Mahdi will come at the end of times as well. He's going to come, he's going to appear, he's going to take over, he's going to start killing his enemies. First, he's going to appear in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia, and take a note there. That's why Iran is an enemy of Saudi Arabia, because they believe one day they will crush Saudi Arabia. They will kill all the leaders there. They will take over that land, and they will destroy all the mosques, because they are built upon the Sunni way. They will just leave the basic mosques, which are the two biggest mosques, one in Mecca and one in Medina, and they will leave them at the foundations, not even what was built through centuries. They will eradicate all that. They will destroy all that. They will just leave the foundations, and the Mahdi is going to build a new ones there. That's one thing. Second thing, he's going to try to make some divine courts for Abu Bakr and Omar, the first two caliphs, because they took over the caliphate from the family of Muhammad, and they mocked, persecuted the Shia. They even persecuted the daughter of Muhammad, Fatima. They actually believe they caused her to die. The Shiite believe that. So they are going to take them out of their graves. The Mahdi is going to take them out of their graves, bring life to them, give life back to them, and punish them every night. And for 1,000 nights, actually, all Shiite will witness that. And this just shows you that this eschatology of Shiite is just full of the desire to revenge what happened to them through history. They just want to go back and undo what happened, or at least see their enemies suffer at their hands. That's one of the things that I noticed. Another thing, he's going to go to Iraq. Actually, his capital will be the Kufa in Iraq, and he's going to do the same thing. He's going to eradicate all the mosques there that are not Shia built, or they are built. So he's going to get rid of all the Sunnis in Iraq and actually make a Shia kingdom, or a Shia kingdom. And of course, he's going to get rid of Israel. He's going to liberate the land there. He's going to make it all Muslim. He's going to face the biggest Satan, America and all the others, all the China, you name it, all of them. He's going to make them submit, either convert to Islam or die. There are no alternatives. And I think we heard this deja vu from the past, from the rays of Muhammad. So he's just going to follow the path of his grandfather. Oh, grandfather, you are my role model. I'm just going to do the same thing. And I have the power now. I'm going to crush China and America and make all of them submit and take them as probably is going to enslave the girls like his grandfather did, and is going to just imitate whatever the first Muslim community did. He's going to do it now on a bigger scale.
And it's one thing. It's one thing if a group that, Shias have historically been persecuted in various areas by Sunnis and so on. So it's one thing for a group that has been marginalized or as a minority or has been persecuted. It's one thing for them to say, you know what, there's this guy who's coming and he's eventually going to fix these things. And until then, we're just going to sit back and make the best of things. But eventually that guy's going to come. So that's one thing. We could look at that and say, hey, that's false, but at least they're not out trying to, start massive problems in the world or something like that. But then when you get the Iranian Revolution and it's, no, we're actually not going to sit back. We're not going to sit back here and try to make the best of things until this figure comes. We're actually going to start fights with everyone around us and with the entire world and try to get a world war to make him come and come fix everything. Because then now all of a sudden it's something that affects everybody and causes a lot of deaths. And that's what it looks like. I mean, again, it's Iran. Iran was helping and funding Hamas with the planning and with what they needed for the attack on Israel and so on. So Iran's behind that. Iran is behind what's going on in Yemen. Iran is, I don't know. Iran always seems to be part of everything that's going on over there.
The Houthis are supposedly, they don't really meet the Shia Twelvers because most of them are Zaydis. They don't meet the Shia Twelvers on the Imam thing, the Mahdi. So they are supposedly different. But recently they started leaning towards the Twelvers and adapting or adopting their eschatology, their doctrines about the Mahdi, because some of their leaders, they were in Iran, actually, they were trained, they were indoctrinated. So they are trying to bring the group together with the Twelvers on the matter of the Imam. So I would not be surprised in the coming years, months, that the Houthis will believe the same thing. I see a pattern there. And also, when I digged a little bit into the history of Yemen, the Hashemite, which are the descendants of Muhammad there, who claim they are descendants of Muhammad in Yemen, they get also 20%, and they are the richest people in Yemen. And the Houthis happen that they are in alliance with the Hashemite, and some of them are in power now, leading the Houthis as well. So they are kind of doing the same thing as the Twelvers. They are claiming authority and wealth based on the being of a descendant of Muhammad. The same logic, the same method, the same everything. They are doing it in Yemen.
And so I don't know. Seems like we can look at the beliefs about the 12th Imam and say, look, this is obviously a scam, and you should be a little skeptical here. And yet it seems that beliefs matter, because looks like lots of people are going to have died over this, and are going to die over this. Well, and so if we wanted to refute something, ladies and gentlemen, it would be a good idea to refute. It's kind of weird going after the Twelvers, because you're like, I mean, you obviously got to be way more concerned about the, the Sunnis and so on, and what they're doing, and the Salafis, and because these are the guys trying to I mean, who are actually in Western nations trying to, we're gonna establish Sharia and we're gonna make you all submit and Islam will rule the world and so on. And it's like, these Twelvers, they're not over here doing that, and yet looks like they are looking for a fight here, and so.
Yeah, I mean, go to Dearborn, and majority are Shia Twelvers there. Go to London, and you will find a huge crowd there that are Twelvers. And when it comes to ruling the world, there are no differences. It's just like they will do it in a different way. So there are no differences when it comes to this. You have to submit to Islam. You have to submit to us, and we are going to rule the world. The same thing. I have few questions that I just in case any Shia will watch this video, or any person
Oh,
who
they'll
wanna
watch.
any person who will study this subject. Why the doctrine of Mahdi doesn't exist in the Quran? Why it came late? Because we don't find any trace. If there is a person with this importance in history, and he is going to be the savior of the world at the end times, he should be mentioned. Why we find Zayd, for example, Zayd ibn Haritha mentioned just because the Prophet liked his wife and wanted to take her. We find him mentioned by name. But the Mahdi himself, he's not mentioned by name. Isn't that like something that we should think about? The second thing, the second question, why it came late? This doctrine, it appeared late. It appeared in Iraq and appeared late. I can say the second century. Some people are saying it appeared the second century of Hijrah. So around that time, people started saying the Mahdi. First, it was just the Mahdi was just a title of somebody who is religious. It didn't have the implication of he's going to save the world. Later on it became this doctrine, and it's later. It's not in the first century of Islam. Why we had it late? Another one, why it appeared in Iraq, not in Medina, not in Mecca, not in Damascus. It just appeared in Iraq, and in a time of persecution. And then the biggest question, why the Mahdi is hiding all this time? What is he waiting for? I mean, there is no reason if he's going to save. Why he's waiting? The more he waits, actually, the more we are going to invent stuff. So if he had a fight when we had just swords, probably could have been easier. But if he's waiting until we have nukes and we have these bombs that can destroy everything, I think the more he waits, the more population will get sophisticated, and the Mahdi, who is from the 9th century, will have no clue even how to fight us. I mean, these are just few questions.
And so those are some questions that everyone can ask your Shia friends, and be interesting to see what their answers are. But yeah, I have to say, this looks this whole thing looks really fake. And I don't mean in the same sense that, I think Islam looks fake. I don't believe that Muhammad's a prophet. I believe he's obviously a false prophet. He doesn't look to be just completely invented in the same way that the 12th Imam and the doctrines that come from that. These look more fake, far more fake, because it looks like the entire thing's just invented, and it's not like you have a ton of witnesses to go on. You got to go steps out and says, "Hey, yeah, we got him. We got this guy," and looks really bad.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. If you have Brother Rachid, if you have any final thoughts on all this, you can share those, and then we'll just cover a couple super chats and then close out.
Okay. Just where Christ fits in when it comes to eschatology, I think Christ will come and he will follow the Mahdi according to Muslims or to the Shia. Even actually the Sunnis, they believe that when the Mahdi is going to pray, he's going to is going to, Jesus is going to, or Isa is going to pray behind him. The Imam in the prayer will be the Mahdi. And so the Sunni and the Shiite believe even if Jesus Christ is coming back, he's just going to be a follower of Mahdi and helping the Mahdi in his kingdom. That's one thing. Second, both of them, Sunni and Shia, believe that the Mahdi is going to die at the end. So the Sunni believe he's going to die after 7 years of ruling. So all this wait is for 7 years. And the Shia will believe that he's going to be dead, most likely killed or poisoned. So the same thing at the end. He's hiding, afraid of being killed. And at the end, he's going to appear and he's going to have justice and everything. And he's going to be killed no matter what. So anyway, this whole doctrine, it just looks weird. The more you dig into it, the more you find out it's absurd. But still, millions of people follow it. Just look at Iran and Iraq and Yemen and Oman and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And all the fights right now, United States is bombing Yemen because there are some people who believe that the Mahdi is going to come and they have to fight the great Satan. They just killed somebody in Syria. Israel, I think, attacked one of the leaders in Iran, and they killed him. One of the big heads, like after Soleimani. And why? Because those guys believe the Mahdi is coming, and they have to help him come sooner. In Iraq, the same thing. Just a recent, I think today or last night, an American base got attacked. The Shia proxies are attacking Americans there. They are trying to kill them, trying to harm them. Why? Because they believe in the same thing. And don't think it's just politics. The Middle East is different than the West. Most of it is religiously driven. And the Mahdi plays a big role in those beliefs.
Indeed. And I just wanted to wrap up with some good news. So I mentioned that in the 20th century, with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, that actually shook up a lot of Muslims in the Muslim world in thinking, hey, this isn't the way things are supposed to go. Why are these other nations so much more powerful than us? What's going on here? And a lot of those Muslims said, okay, we need to modernize, and we need to be more like the West. And then you had the opposite reaction, which is no, we need to be more devout and more obsessed with spreading Sharia and dealing with hypocrites and apostates and so on. So they became more aggressive and more violent. The good news is, so notice that's still pretty recent, last 20th century. The good news is that now you're seeing kind of like, it's not the last stand or anything like that, because you still will have lots of Muslims, but we're getting to a stage where the apostasy rates are rising so rapidly that part of what's going on in the Sunni world and in the Shia world right now is kind of, we cannot keep going the way we're going because Islam's going to be collapsing. There are so many apostates, Islam's going to be collapsing. So we have to take our stand right now. And that's, Hamas, they can't keep, that's why they think they can't keep waiting. Hezbollah, Iran, all these, ISIS, all these groups think, we can't just keep going the way we've been going. We have to take our stand now. We have to get really violent now. We have to set things off right now. We have to set off this global war right now. The positive news is, if they do all this and they lose and get crushed, like Hamas is getting crushed, like Iran might get crushed if it keeps picking fights, they don't seem to have a plan B, right? It's in other words, if they're thinking, hey, Islam's going to fall apart unless we take our stand right now and are successful, what happens if they're not successful? Maybe Islam just starts collapsing because there's nowhere to go after that. If violence from the time of Muhammad on, if violence has been the solution for everything that goes wrong, what happens when violence just doesn't work anymore and you can't get what you want? Good times ahead. Yep. All right, let's take a couple super chats and then we'll close out. Smoke Bomb here says, I was debating these Muslims, and one of them told me I watched too much Christian apologetics, and the other said I watched too much David Wood. You should be like, well, you should take that as a compliment. Be like, yeah, you're right. Beatrice says, D. Wood, I think it would be helpful to make a video explaining what Jesus and the Trinity are. Keep up the good work. I think there are lots of videos on Jesus and the Trinity out there. Augustine's confessions are dope. Quality anti-Quran. Do Muslims... It's a joke. Do Muslims not eat pork because all ham goes to Allah? That's a joke about the Alhamdulillah. All ham goes to Allah, but your imama eats hummus. Guess that's a joke on hummus. Lebel asks if any descendants of Muhammad today. Yes, there are descendants of Muhammad. I mean, there are people who are claimed to be descendants of Muhammad today.
Yeah,
But yes,
I think if they do, I mean, there are tons of them claiming that if we do a DNA test, we will find they are lying.
yeah. So there are lots of people who claim to be descendants of Muhammad, Chloe, and whether some of them are or not, yeah. Can the rising of a Mahdi figure can the rising of a Mahdi figure cause an Islamic revival responding to the apostate tsunami resulting in Revelation 13:3 being a revived Ottoman Empire? So I think this is asking, could they have? Like you've pointed out that there have been figures claiming to be the Mahdi, and we're thinking of it, well, since this guy, we don't even think this guy probably existed, but we definitely don't think he's going to return and save Islam. But I mean, you could have someone claiming to be the Mahdi and all of a sudden rising, because you've had that in the past. But what do you think about that? Could that kind of set things in motion? Someone steps up, I'm the Mahdi, and if he was it'd have to be a big strong, it'd have to be like a Muhammad hijab type stepping up. Oh, you see, I'm the Mahdi. I'm finally here. Could there be something that actually Muslims rally around? And
I mean, there will be always, crazy people who can claim whatever. There are people who claim that even they are Jesus, they are Christ. But I mean, the Muslims will follow them? I don't think so. I don't think they will have this big, huge influence.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Islam is too divided. So even if you had someone who sort of rose up and, people Muslims of a certain area rallied around him, it doesn't seem like, Islam is so, people don't realize how divided Islam is, that within Sunni Islam, you have all these groups that are attacking each other. Within Shia Islam, you have all these different groups that are attacking each other. So yeah, you'd somehow need someone who's just appealing to Muslims across the board. And I don't know how that's going to happen.
It's hard.
Yeah. If the trajectory continues, this is a joke. This is Muhammad Hijab was saying in a video. If the trajectory continues, 72 will greet him. That's another joke. Is there's a song called 72 Space Virgins. It's weird that I have to explain everything to everyone because we have all these inside jokes here.
Yeah, man, you have a whole dictionary there.
Yeah. Hey, check this. This is actually funny from Swiss Apologetics. It's talking about the 7 sleepers in the cave and how these guys, are asleep for hundreds of years. But Swiss Apologetics says 7 sleepers. Wow, I bet no one ever was hiding as long as we did. Mahdi, hold my camel urine. That's good. 1, a child can't be leader of the entire ummah. 2, the Mahdi was 5 years old. 3, therefore 5-year-olds are adults and marriageable. AP destroyed. Yep, you got him. You got AP. AP can shut his apostate mouth. He's been refuted. He's no longer a prophet. Farfour says, minor occultation? I bet Daniel loves that. You get the joke. Yeah, Daniel Hakikatu. What? Guy. You said minor? Oh, wow.
Guys, you are horrible.
Oh, hey, so hang on. Yeah, someone else went with that too. So minor occultation sounds like Daniel Hakikatu trying to play down and obscure his statements about child marriage. Yeah. Now, even though we've got video of him saying that you can have sex with a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, or whatever, now he denies it, but he tries to say, oh, I'm just talking about marriage and so on. But he was specifically asked. So anyway, now he's trying to downplay the things he said because he's been getting embarrassed by them and people are using them everywhere. But let's see. Sounds like Daniel Hakikat, you're trying to play down and obscure his statements about child marriage. Also, for the guest, how many Iranians do you think would nuke me if Israel would nuke me in Israel if they were able to do so? Here's shekels for shirk. So if Iranians were able, if Iranians had the nuke, how likely do you think it are that they would use them on a place like Israel?
Oh, I mean, we wouldn't have been here probably.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, those are the guys who seem crazy enough to drop him, and that's why I don't think they'll ever get one. I think if there's even hints about it, Israel will just bomb every place that's possibly even building one.
Yeah, that's why Israel cannot have Iran having nukes next to them, because they are not responsible and they're crazy. If you believe in these things, what do you think you are going to do to your neighbors?
Yeah, rough stuff. I heard the Mahdi doesn't grow in his hidden. I heard the Mahdi doesn't grow in his hidden state. Does it mean a little kid will go around destroying America's and Israel's nukes and beheading?
Oh, very interesting. He's going to come back at age of 40. He's going to be 40.
Yeah. So he's aging slowly, or he just stopped
Yeah.
at 40.
Yep.
Okay. Mahdi was running to his wife. Oh, this is a joke about Muhammad running to Khadijah saying, cover me, cover me. So he says here, it's the Mahdi was running to his wife saying, cover me, cover me. And since then, nobody saw him again. So she covered him and now he's been covered.
Hidden.
People are pretty funny here. Has descendants from Muhammad ever been genetically tested? Yeah, I'm not sure how the genetic testing would work, because you'd need samples from either from Muhammad or from people are descended from Muhammad in order to compare them. But if anyone wants to run the test, I would be happy to dig up. I volunteer. I'll dig up Muhammad's body. It's in the mosque in Medina, supposedly. I'll dig up the body and get the sample from Muhammad.
Yeah. Isn't he supposed to be alive there, like, or intact?
Yeah. It's weird because Muhammad condemned the Jews and Christians for building place of worship where their prophets are buried, and that Muhammad's in the mosque in Medina.
Yeah, in the old days, just claim you are descendant of Muhammad and you can rule, and it still have impact even today. It's weird, like you can have that privilege just because you are a descendant of Muhammad. In Morocco, the king claims he's a descendant of Muhammad. In Jordan, the king claims he's a descendant of Muhammad. So wherever you want to rule and have wealth, just claim you are a descendant of Muhammad.
Yeah, and they did something similar with the name Qureshi, because that means like from Muhammad's tribe, the Quraysh. And I remember because my best friend in college was Nabil Qureshi, and I took a class. One of the classes I was taking was a class on Islam, taught by a Muslim, and he was talking about this, how people, if you were a traveler, you're Muslim and you move from one country to another, you could just tack on a name that gave you some special status in Islam. And I mean, who's going to know any better? So he was saying, and so it became very common for people to take a name saying they're from Muhammad's family or from Muhammad's tribe and stuff like this. And I was like, oh, really? So I went right back to Nabil. I was like, dude, you ain't from Muhammad's tribe, man. One of your ancestors stole that name to impress everyone. Anyway, he didn't like that very much. Couple more here. Kangza says, what do you guys think about Bassem Youssef? You know him? He's the Egyptian like comedian type. He doesn't have any especially great arguments. At least he's funny some of the time. I think he's funny. So I like him.
He used to be funny, but I think he's riding the wave. He's trying to sell emotions to Muslims everywhere, and it's like he's telling them, "See, I was able to defeat them in the Western media." So he's like selling that. I know how it goes. I used to follow Bassem Youssef when he was in Egypt and he was doing shows against the Muslim Brotherhood, but now he's kind of changed.
Yeah, so as far as his arguments, he doesn't really have any, my view, he doesn't really have anything beyond what, Dawa guys are saying and stuff. But I'd rather listen to him in the sense that at least he's funny some of the time while he's
Yeah.
talking. So those are my thoughts
Yeah.
on Basamir. Thanks, Brother Rachid and D. Wood. Yep, no problem. Andrew here says nobody is coming to save Iran. Iran should be called I fled. So I guess if we pronounce it differently, Iran should be called I fled. Yeah. Yeah, that's a classic joke. He threw Iraq, so I ran. Something like that.
Yeah.
And finally here from Sarah from Al Aqsa TV. That was the little girl that used to be on the Palestinian children's TV shows. It's not the real one. Who knows what happened to her? I hope she's safe. Because you had all these basically jihadi perverts watching the show, and there's this little girl there, and so who knows what happened to her. But Sarah here says, what about what does the Mahdi even do for 1,000 years? Must be bored. And you were pointing out
he's watching David, so he's happy.
Yeah, and you pointed out that he goes around and does stuff. He's just like a ghost, kind of.
It's probably he's in Las Vegas right now. Who knows?
Yeah, that's where he should be. Yeah, partying all the time. All right, Thanks everyone for joining us. Did want to get that covered because it really looks like attention this year. Attention is probably going to shift away from Hamas and start shifting to Iran. I think that's what's going to happen this year.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we'll probably have to be covering all the stupid stuff that Iran is going to do this year as they try to get their 12th Imam back.
There are so many interesting Shia stuff. So probably we should balance between Sunni and Shia.
Yeah, and I think Iran's going to make us. And the cool part is, once people start getting more concerned about Iran, maybe they'll start looking into some of the beliefs that are causing Iran to start these fights, and maybe people will start exposing them. Because, I mean, guess what? If you're in Iran and you grow up in an area and all you ever know is Twelver Shia Islam and it's presented to you as fact, you might not know. You might not be aware of how shaky the foundations of this are, and that it all comes from a guy who's, hey, give me the money. Yeah, we've got the Imam over there. If more people are exposing this, more people in Iran and other places might start to doubt it, and it might start.
David, here's a joke. We used to say it. A Sunni got married to a Shia lady. Their son would be named what?
What? I don't know.
Sushi. Anyway. All right.
Everyone get that? Everyone's gonna be sharing that.
Okay.
Classic.
All right.
All right. Thanks everyone, and we have some thanks for it right now. Zainab Al-Hara says, love you both and thank you for your work. And I Love New York says, Brother Rachid, God bless you. Thanks, David Wood. Thank you. And I have links to Brother Rachid if you're not following him on YouTube or Twitter. He's on Twitter where he shares what he's doing, and also YouTube. I have the links to both his English and his Arabic channel. So follow whichever channel works better for you. And I think we could just go ahead and close out with a little song here.
All right. Thank you.
No child molester, sex offender, private pretender. Ain't gonna follow no child molester.
Islam's not for me. Islam's not for me.
Islam's not
for me.
As AP would say, everyone, stay away from Islam.